Hello and welcome. This is Nancy, and I am so happy to be with you, coming live from South Bend, Indiana, with my Seeking Truth Always podcast. It is Tuesday, the 18th of August, in the year of our Lord, 2026. And it is Tuesday evening here in South Bend, and I hope you've had a good start to your week. Yesterday, Monday, today, Tuesday, and here we are already at Tuesday night. The time just flies, just crazy. Just seems like I was with you yesterday and it was last Thursday. All these days have gone by, but not a day goes by that I'm not busy seeking truth. There's always plenty to talk about, and tonight is no exception. I'm going to be getting to Is the Plan, Part 12 of 28 in the series, the sequel to the Fall of the Cabal. And I tried to plan tonight so I know I can get to it. But we haven't for the last two podcasts. So I'm extra determined tonight. And you will want to see it. You want to see each and every one of them. And many of you I know have already watched these. They've been around since around 2022, I believe was the year they were published. Could have been 2023, but I think it was 2022. And they were written and directed and produced and made by Janet Ossebaard. Janet Ossebaard is a warrior for truth. She created the series, 10-part series, The Fall of the Cabal. Many of you, as I, probably in your early awakening, at some point saw that series. Well, I shared it again a few months ago, earlier in the year, parts 1 through 10. And while we were busy watching that and learning from that, the true history of how and by whom and when, everything that happened that got us where we are today in this very evil-ridden world we live in. When President Trump first came down the escalator, he started saying, we're going to drain the swamp. Little did I know what the swamp meant back then. I was just equating it with politics, I guess. Republican versus Democrat, liberals versus conservatives. I would say, thinking back, that's probably how I looked at it. Because that's how I looked at a lot of it, you know, it's another election year, it's another election cycle. Okay, the Democrats have been in 2 years, now the Republicans have been in for 2 years, and then the Democrats, and then the Republicans, and it just seemed like that's the way it always went. And I just lived my life. Didn't get involved. But anyway, when President Trump said he was going to drain the swamp, and I thought, it was just a political thing. He's going to probably just, beat the Democrats, and then there'll be a Republican in office again. And I was fully supportive from the beginning. It was early 2000s when the Lord just, in my spirit, I got this genuine curiosity about Donald Trump. It was when I lived in Canada. I lived there for almost 10 years. After my kids graduated, I just wanted to do something different. Some friends imported me into Canada, legally, by the way. And guess the two things I wasn't allowed to do as a landed immigrant, which means green card from U.S. terms. I couldn't vote. Imagine that. A landed immigrant or green card holder, even legally coming into the country, let alone illegally, but I was legal. I couldn't vote. And the other thing is, if I broke the law, any law, if I stole a pack of gum, I could legally be deported if I did anything illegal, because I wasn't a citizen. I was a landed immigrant, just like legal immigrants are in this country, except it's called green card, having a green card in this country. So when people talk about this immigration, illegals, and all of this, it's so common sense to me, because I was a legal immigrant of another country. I didn't care to become a citizen there or hold dual citizenship. That wasn't important to me. I just went for a change. I went to develop business up there, made some great friends. But during the period of time I lived there, and I moved back to the United States in 2008, and my dad had passed away and Mom needed help, so it was just time to come home. And this was always home. The U.S. was always home. I was just visiting, basically, Canada, and it was a lot different when I was there than it is now. Whew. I'm so glad I didn't stay up there. Not that, I loved the people and the place and the life I had when I was up there, but it's not the same. Just like the United States is not the same as it was in the year 2000 or the early 2000s or before that, and even after that. There have been so many changes. But at any rate, President Trump was doing the Apprentice during that time frame when I lived in Canada. And the Lord just put this curiosity. I'm an entrepreneur. I've always been an entrepreneur. So, I guess I attributed it to I'm an entrepreneur, and the Lord wants me to understand maybe more the mind of a successful business person. I really didn't know. I just was drawn to it, drawn to understand Donald Trump, drawn to figure out how he ticked and why and what he did. And not that I wanted to emulate him. I was just, like I said, just drawn to him. Well, fast forward the clock, and what I've been doing here now for 5 years, publicly, and 8 years on my own, my awakening journey that I illustrate with my hands. Beginning of a journey, end of a journey, awakening in between. And no one knows exactly where this is, where the end is. But I've been on my journey has been about 8 years so far. And I can look back now and see what God was doing. He was bringing me into a knowledge, for my people shall perish for lack of knowledge. He was bringing me into a knowledge way back then, early 2000s, about this man. And now I know why. We have the benefit of knowing what's transpired over the last 26 years. And when he came down the escalator in 2015, I was elated. I had read biographies about him. I understood that the public persona of him was mean, tough guy. You're fired. Mean, tough guy. The rude in front of the public persona that we saw often. Basically in his TV show. But I went further. I not only read his books, which would of course be geared toward him, like the good things about him, but I read others that were independent, or I dug into personal knowledge, for my people will perish for lack of knowledge. I dug into personal knowledge about him. For instance, the time he was in his limousine, and his limousine got a flat tire, and his limousine was stranded on the side of some expressway in New York. And this was probably back in the 80s, maybe. It could be the 90s. I don't recall the date. But a long time ago. And he was a well-known businessman in New York. And, of course, they have all the resources in the world to get that tire fixed. But the limo driver, who was on the outside of the limo, standing by the limo, like a older type pickup pulled up behind the limo, and not a real young guy, but not a real old guy, pulled over his pickup and walked up to got out of his truck, and the limo driver, of course, walked back there, and he said, "Hey, it looks like you got a flat. Man, I can help you with that." And the limo driver said, No, we've got, back then they didn't have cell phones, but they had, different types of communication, and there's also like patrols up and down the interstates. But however it was done, they had somebody coming. And the guy said, "No, I can do it. It won't take me long at all." And he did it. He wouldn't take no for an answer. And when it was all said and done, he didn't know who was in the limo, didn't see it. And when he was ready to leave, the back window went down, and the man immediately recognized Donald Trump because he's from New York. And he was pretty flabbergasted. I mean, he figured there was probably somebody in the limo that was whatever, but he had no idea who. It could have been a bunch of kids going to a prom, I suppose, too. They rent limos. But at any rate, it was Donald Trump. And Donald Trump said, "Thank you so much." And however, he said it. And he said to the limo driver, give him whatever he said, to give him some money. And the guy said, No. I don't want any money. I stopped to help you guys. I'm good. Didn't take long at all. And Donald Trump tried again to encourage him to take money, and he wouldn't. And so the guy started walking back to his truck, and Donald Trump called the limo driver over to the window, and he said, get his contact information or get his license plate, get something. And about 3 days later, this man's testimony is that he was notified by his bank or mortgage company, whatever it was, that his mortgage was paid off. No thanks required, like no bravado. But Donald Trump paid off this man's mortgage. That's the kind of guy he is. And that's the testimonies that I saw over and over and over again. And he never, ever bragged about them. He didn't put those stories into his books. He's never bragged about the good deeds that he's done. And he's done so many. So, the moral of my story, so to speak, is in 2015 when he came down the escalator, I was elated. I knew he was a good businessman. I mean, he had successes, he had failures, but you don't become successful if you don't have failures. If you can't learn from failures, you will never get more successful. He had a good heart. I knew he had a good heart. And I knew that this public display of "you're fired" was just theatrics, so to speak. So I was prepared, and God prepared me because he knew I'd be doing this. And he also knew, in hindsight, I can say, he also knew the opposition that there would be, that there would need to be a steadfast, absolutely unshakable belief in the integrity of this man in the about who he was at his core, not who he was projected to be on TV. Because I can look back now and be able to reason this out, because I have all the data now. You know, like back then I couldn't figure it out. In fact, I had some friends up there that we were talking about Canadian politics, so to speak, politics, government, and all that, again, and versus U.S. and all of that. And they asked me from time to time, you know, who do you think? Different people would ask me, who do you think would make a good president? And the Lord put it in my spirit way back then. I said, I think Donald Trump would be a good president. He's a businessman, and running a country would be like running a big business, so to speak. And I also knew his character based on what I'd learned about him. But none of my friends up there liked him. They were like, ew, how can you like him? He's so rude. He's this, that. How can you watch his show? He's terrible, you know. But the Lord just put in my spirit so long ago, in the early 2000s, about him being president. So when he came down the escalator, boom, wow. Well, circle that all the way back, and I never know what I'm going to talk about in my intro. I start somewhere, and then the Lord takes me somewhere else. But I was talking about the swamp, because I had mentioned, like in my first few sentences, about the evil world that we live in. And when he talked about the swamp, back then, I just thought it was, you know, a political thing, and Republicans, Democrats, going to drain the bad gems out or whatever. But I came up with an acronym about 4 years into my own personal journey, after everything I've learned up to that point of what the swamp actually is. And the acronym I created was Satanic World Affiliation of Mafia Pedophiles. SWAMP. Satanic World Affiliation. Like they're all affiliated worldwide. And I said mafia because there's no C in swamp. Otherwise I would say cabal. But of mafia, because it's organized crime. Pedophiles. The P. Because they're satanic. Satanic World Affiliation of Mafia Pedophiles. They're satanic. They're pedophiles. It's worldwide. They're all connected. And it's organized crime. So that's been my personal acronym for the swamp for probably about 5 years now. I'll show you a meme I created with this song. Satanic World Affiliation of Mafia Pedophiles. Yeah, I created that probably a couple years ago. Something like that. I show it every once in a while. Share it every once in a while. But that's the world Donald Trump said that he was going to drain. He was going to drain the swamp, which had nothing to do with Democrats and Republicans, but it had Democrats and Republicans in it. A lot of them. Too many. But whether it's the education system, I'm wearing this ring, and it has a little place where you can insert, it's a heart, and you can insert a colored stone. See how that opens up? And I hit it just right, and it flipped this open and popped the stone out. There, that's what it looks like. Glad I found it. One time it popped out like at a concert many years ago. Like I've had this probably 25 years. It popped out and a huge crowd. And there's like 5 different stones, different colors and different gems. And I don't remember which. I think it was the red one that popped out. But I can't remember. I found it. People were helping me find it. Anyway, that wasn't meant to be in my intro either, but it was like, click, click, click. I'm like, uh-oh, my stone popped out. Okay, so now you know that too. Where was I? Okay, all right, I was talking about the swamp. I showed the acronym. I lost it. If I was on a roll on something, you guys have to remind me, because this just totally took my mind away. So I'm going to move on, and if there's a comment of what I was talking about, if I was making another point, let me know. All right, so tonight again we're going to continue on with part 12 of 28 of the sequel to The Fall of the Cabal. I said it is by Janet Ossebaard, and her partner helped her write it and produce it, and also finished in the production of the sequel to The Fall of the Cabal, because Janet Ossebaard, about maybe 3 weeks, maybe, I could be off a little bit on that, before she died, she made a public statement. I am not suicidal. She said that publicly. There was a big target on her back, because she put a lot of truth out there. And then she said to the world, I am not suicidal. And she publicly put it out there on social media for all to see. And then she ended up dead. Missing first. Missing. This was in 2023, if I'm remembering correctly. Could be 2022, but I think it was 2023. And then it was officially called a suicide. So you can do the math on that. I'm hoping she's in witness protection. I pray that she's in witness protection. I pray one day we will see her again. But I do not believe that she committed suicide. I don't believe the public narrative, the public story. And yeah, she's the one that put all this truth out there. So be sure, if you haven't been watching the sequel, in my Seeking Truth Always channel on Rumble, I have the 10-part series in one full-length video that you can watch part by part. They're all about 20, 25 minutes, 28 minutes, 30 minutes at the most, each part. Just as the 28-part sequel to The Fall of the Cabal is. And I also have that video in my Rumble channel. And you can just do a search for the sequel to The Fall of the Cabal or The Fall of the Cabal, and in the Rumble results, you'll probably find my video. But if not, just go there and scroll. I think it's on page something like 4 or 5. I posted it maybe again about 6 months ago. I should post it again and just get it up higher on my feed. But anyway, we are on part 12. And in addition to that tonight, maybe some of you are aware, and maybe some of you aren't, but there was like a debate of the ages, so to speak. The great debate. The best debate I ever saw, the best, was when Trump debated Hillary. And his timing was impeccable when he chimed in, "You'd be in jail." Oh my gosh, I watched it live, and I was like, wow. How, like, that was like for the 2016 elections. So that was like in 2015 or maybe in early 2016. People were not talking about that back then. And President Trump said, "You'd be in jail if he were president," because she was saying, if he were president, whatever she was saying, blah, 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 I'm this, blah, but if he were president, and he chimed in, "You'd be in jail." Well, I think, personally, some of you might be saying, well, she's still out there walking around, and he's president. Well, I don't believe she's still out there walking around. I believe that there's somebody walking around. I believe it's a 2.0, a 3.0, a 10.0. She's been tall, she's been short, she's been everything in between. Just like Bill has been taller, Bill's been shorter, everything in between. I mean, all you got to do is watch all the news. Watch all the different clips. Watch just watch what they put out there in the narrative. It's, yeah, she sure looks different this time. Yeah, I believe she's been dealt with a long, long, long time ago, when he was president, actually. In my opinion. It's my opinion. Some of you may not accept it, and that's fine. You might not believe it, and that's okay too. You might have heard it, but don't believe it. You might have never heard that, or you might agree with me. But that's what I believe. She's been dealt with. But anyway, this debate between Candace Owens and a man by the name of Andrew Wilson. I had never heard of Andrew Wilson. Supposedly a great debater. Like the best. Now, some of you might be Andrew Wilson fans, and if you are, that's your prerogative, and we're all entitled to our own opinion. And mine is when I first started looking into him, because Candace, this is all about the conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk, and I've been very upfront from the beginning with you guys that I believe that it was all staged. I don't believe it was. I believe he is somewhere, but he is not. I mean, they never even had a body. There was never a body. There was never a casket. There was, like, not even EMTs called when he was supposedly, like, just going, no EMTs, no ambulances called. No, a bunch of us guys will just carry him to the... Who does that? And then they just clean up the entire crime scene, but there's no crime scene tape. Hello? I mean, I could go on and on and on, and I'm not going to go on and on and on, because Candace Owens has gone on and on and on, and she has made a very good case. I just talk about, like, little topical things that make no sense. You know, like, I don't know a whole lot about guns, but it was easy enough for me to look up what it would be like if somebody were shot at a certain range with I think it's called a 30-06, whatever it was, because I looked it up, because I don't know anything about guns, I mean specifically, and bullets and whatever. So it's like, I just generically looked up, like, what would happen if, asking people that know more than I, or looking up data about it. And it's like, I learned myself that a bullet like that would not, like, everything would have gone, not just a little hole with, which blood doesn't even act that way. Because I looked all that up too. I mean, and who am I? I was just curious. So I looked up stuff. I didn't need anybody to tell me. Let me look it up myself. I'll figure it out if I believe it or not, because I watched it. And it's like, in the beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, the shock factor, of course. But then it's like my critical thinking skills, my brain started engaging, going, now wait a minute. Why isn't there any crime scene tape? Why is some guy on a ladder taking a camera, or standing up in a chair taking a camera down that was behind where Charlie Kirk was standing? Some random guy and their staff. What? And then 2 days later, Erica Kirk's coming out and making a public statement, and I've never even really paid attention to who Erica Kirk is, so I looked her up, because I wanted to know what she looked like. So when she came out and did her public statement, I could determine for myself, does that look like who I looked up on her own social media accounts? And it wasn't. It didn't look anything like her. Zero. You gotta be kidding me. Okay, well, ever hear of a false flag? Anyway, I pray that he's alive. I pray that he's somewhere safe and alive and so forth. I believe he is. But anyway, that's me. But Candace Owens has publicly spoken a lot about this. And she's the one that actually released the video. Nobody had released a video. This video. It was like in government hands or whatever. Nobody could see it. It was... And then they had these hearings, and Benny Johnson was the one that was most vocal. And I like Benny Johnson. I watch him, quite often for different breaking news things. And he came on during these hearings not too long ago, and he said, we saw on a big screen, a 4K, perfectly clear, absolutely, you could see it, the face of Tyler Robinson, you could just see it, and Benny is just animated, so excited about, here's the proof, we saw it. But no one, like me or you or anyone, has seen it. Only the people in that room, in that congressional hearing, or whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't congressional, I don't remember. But anyway, it was some hearing. And Benny Johnson was there. And he said, it's 4K, it's crystal clear, it is the most amazing, it's the proof we've been waiting for. And then, not too long after that, Candace Owen got the actual 4K video he was 4K video he was talking about. And I showed it to you guys on this podcast about a month ago, something like that. And you never see a facial view, but even if you did, it was so blurry you couldn't make it out. So this crystal clear 4K video, and why Benny Johnson said what he said, well, we're watching a movie. I mean, that's what I would say. And he's a character in it, clearly. But it's not clear. It's not crystal. It's not 4K. It's not face on. It is absolutely impossible to tell who the person was on the roof. And I showed you guys a video that showed that the person that laid down on the roof in his prone position was at least probably 10 feet away from the edge, so he could not have put a rifle over the edge and shot in the position he was in. But in addition to that, when he ran off the roof, he was not carrying a rifle, nor did he stop at any point to take a screwdriver and disassemble it and, put it in his pants or something, and no way that it could have been like down his leg, because he was running in a fast, off of this roof. And if he had like a straight rifle from his, it's like over 4 foot long, so it'd be the length of his leg, at least from his waist. Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. So Candace Owens was challenged to a debate with this what is his name again? Like I said, I didn't even know who he was. Yeah, Andrew Wilson. So I started looking into Andrew Wilson, and he is, I mean, had nothing to do with Candace Wilson. Candace Owens. Yeah. Had nothing to do with her, but he was a very rude and despicable and nasty, mouthy, disgusting. The way he treated his women guests on his podcast. I mean, he called them names I can't say on this podcast when they disagreed with him or this or that. And I mean, I watched some of these and I'm like, who is this guy? And it was like, like you're told when you have kids, or maybe you were told as a kid, if you have that yuck feeling, if somebody gives you that yuck feeling. Watching this guy gave me that yuck feeling, like, oh, it's disgusting. Anyway, if she's turned him down and turned him down and turned him down, and he even called Erica Kirk in his podcast previously, talking about this whole subject. I don't know if it was 3 months ago, 9 months ago, whenever it was. And he called her, I can't remember if it was stupid retard or effing retard or what. But anyway, the word retard was in there. About Erica Kirk. And then all of a sudden he's like invited to TPUSA. And that's made very public. And like when he meets Erica Kirk, they hug. And I don't know. I just I've read a lot about Eric, like most people that were called a effing or stupid retard in a public platform, would probably be filing a defamation lawsuit, not hugging some guy and saying, welcome to TPUSA. But that's just me. and then they're like, oh, they're really close. And now TPUSA, is like supposedly having him teach their people how to debate, who called her a whatever retard. And then he was able to offer, from my understanding, he doesn't have a real big, successful lifestyle. And anyway, he offered to pay her $300,000. Well, where would that money have come from? Probably from his new best friend, Erica, and TPUSA. I don't know, but anyway. Then they had this going back and forth of the terms. And every time she would agree to something, he wanted. And again, I was not in his corner. And if you are in his corner, you have every right to be. I mean, that's your choice. I'm just giving you my perspective. But he made things just ridiculous. Like, he just kept changing things up. And finally they came to terms. And then they had this guy that I'd never heard of, but a lot of people have heard of him, but I just never had, to be the moderator. I don't know if I can remember his name off the top of my head. I don't think I wrote it down. But anyway, you'll see some clips I have for you guys. I'm going to show you some high points and low points. But if you... anyone that watched this and didn't know much about it, period, from either perspective, or hadn't formed their own opinion, in my opinion, wouldn't have been believing him, for sure. And he was, one time he even accused her of cheating on this debate. He accused her of cheating. You had a text. What was on that text that you just saw? What was somebody giving you information? And she's like, I didn't look at the text. I just, I don't know. But nobody is sending me information. I have no idea. And he's like, well, I saw you look at it. And so she said to the moderator, would you like to see my phone? You can look up anything you want on my phone. You can look at my text feed. You can look anywhere you want. And he said, do you want me to look at her phone, to this Andrew guy? And he was like, yeah, I want to know what was on that text. Because he thought he was going to have a gotcha. Like, I'm going to get you. You're cheating. So the debate moderator, takes the phone and he's looking at the text and he's reading them. And like not say, but one was a compliment. You're doing a good job, something like that. And he looks at Andrew and he goes, there's no text on here. And then Andrew said, well, maybe send Telegram. Wow. So Candace said, I only have used Telegram when I was in Russia, but you're welcome to look at my Signal because that's my only other messaging platform. So go ahead and open my Signal, And so the guy opens up her Signal app and it's like there's nothing there. And I mean, that's who this guy is. He's just yuck. Just a pathetic excuse of a human being. But at any rate, they'll entertain you. I'm going to show you some things from that debate and they will entertain you. Let me entertain you. But you'll learn some things too. If anything, you might, if you do believe the official narrative, you might begin to question the official narrative by watching these little clips I'm going to be sharing with you. So with that being said, we're going to move on to, in addition to that, I've got a segment I'm going to share with you about this worldwide military operation that we are still involved in, but there's some history there I want to share with you, and some things that we've lived through that I'm going to remind you of. There's also an acronym out there. I think I mentioned it briefly on my last podcast. It's going to be a part of this segment as well. An acronym about Trump that's pretty interesting. We're going to talk about Iran and Israel. Like, connect some dots there. If I have time, I'm going to get to something regarding this final stage that I believe we're in. Someone made a pretty cool video that shows all the things that we've gone through or getting, we've lived, we've experienced. It's not a very long video, but it's interesting because the way it's narrated and then the images they give, it definitely takes us to the place that we are in the final stages of this Great Awakening, I will say. Okay. So, I'm going to say hi to a few people, and then we're going to get over to some of this information. Something happened just late this afternoon. I'm going to tell you this real quick. I don't know if you know the name. David Morens, M-O-R-E-N-S. David Morens is Dr. Fauci's former senior advisor. Well, guess what he did late this afternoon? He pled guilty to conspiracy to defraud the United States. That's pretty big. That was Dr. Fauci's former senior advisor. Let me show you this. Of course, you know this face of evil. But this is David Morens, former senior advisor to Dr. Fauci. He pled guilty to conspiracy to defraud the United States. Morens helped Dr. Fauci cover up the truth about COVID. Getting rich with Dr. Fauci while putting American lives last and in danger. The skiff is the account that this comes from. If you guys aren't familiar with that account in X, that's where it comes from. And this is the actual documentation from the U.S. Department of Justice. And, well, if he pled guilty, he only did it to get a plea deal of some type, probably so he didn't get execution for crimes against humanity. Just my opinion. But at any rate, big news today. That's another image of, yeah, how can you, there's an old joke. How can you tell whomever is lying? Well, their lips are moving. That's what I thought of when I saw his hand in the air. And this is pretty obvious. Like, I think they got me. Look on his face. Okay. I was going to say hi to a few folks, so I'm going to do that now, but I wanted to share that because that is absolutely phenomenal news. I love to see that. First in the house tonight is Ramona to leave a comment, and she said, hello, Nancy and everyone, and thank you for joining us, Ramona, from South Bend here in Indiana, and good to see you, and thank you for your comment. And we have Kathy joining us. She says, good evening, everyone. And she comes to us from Dayton, Ohio. Welcome, Kathy. So glad that you are with us as well. Chris is joining us and says, South Dakota is in the house. Hello, everyone. And welcome, Chris. Good to see you here and glad you could join us. And my husband is joining us somewhere around this community, delivering Grubhub. So if you are ordering Grubhub, you might meet him. And he says, hello, everyone. So hello back at you, my dear. And Diane is joining us also from South Bend here in Indiana. And she says, good evening, Nancy. And good evening to you, Diane. And thank you for joining us and for your comment. And Nikki said, hello, Nancy. Happy Tuesday. I want And I need my glasses for a longer comment. I do pretty well with one or two lines. I better put glasses on so you guys don't see me suffer through it squinting. Hello, Nancy. Happy Tuesday. I went to an advanced movie screening tonight for Daniel and the Fiery Furnace. Good to be tuning into your broadcast on the way home from the theater. Well, that sounds like that was probably a pretty good movie to see. A special screening, advanced movie screening. That's cool. So thank you for chiming in and letting us know that, Nikki, and good to see you and welcome. Okay, so the first place I want to go, and since we were talking about Dr. Fauci, I'm going to show you this. This has resurfaced. It's only 45 seconds. It's a video. And I reposted it, and I said when I reposted, I remember seeing these people keel over. This is a video, a compilation video about many athletes who suffered a heart attack. And this was after they got the jab. And WikiLeaks 1.0 channel found this. They said that they had been looking for it, and I looked for it not too long ago myself, and I couldn't find it. So I said I remember seeing them keel over, some in real time, and I knew at the time why. Many did not. Now they are learning the sinister and evil truth. So WikiLeaks 1.0, if you look for that channel, in X, they said, I finally found this video after months of searching. They tried to keep this off of social media because it exposes all of the young people who died suddenly because of the jab. So let me play this for you.
Shots, it's all that talk you heard about 5G interfacing with the shots, it's true. DARPA research and the operational programs to infect us with remote controllable prion clusters in the brain before they even rolled out COVID. I just got chills. This is so evil. I mean, this is how you take over. You colonize people. You implant everybody with these, whether you've had the shot or not. It's everywhere. You get these proteins growing in you. They hit you with the frequency, and it looks like you died of a stroke. Man, this is bad. All over your brain, hit you with it. Bzzz, crystals grow the next few days, cut through arteries, cut through veins, cut through capillaries, stroke out. Or he says we can just hit them with a light dose and just fog everybody out and make them sick where they can't think straight. All that talk you heard about 5G interface.
In the 12 months of 2022, 1,598 athletes suffered a, quote, heart attack. 1,100 of them died. That is why this is so important. This guy pleading guilty to conspiracy to defraud the United States is just the first nail in this evil monster's I believe he's already dealt with, but publicly it's the nail that will bring this evil monster down. But as I've said before, I do believe he and many others have already been dealt with. Okay, so I'm going to share with you an article, not an article, but what somebody wrote. The name of the account, excuse me, is Jean Whitney, Whitney, and she's on X. I think you can find her on Facebook too. I think she has a group there as well. And I'm going to go through an article that she wrote, and she covers a lot of points about this worldwide military operation. And I have some things I'm going to show you and look back about a couple of things that she talks about and just bring you even more awareness to what we've been through and where we're at and really how close we are to the end of this, as many might call, I don't like saying it because I'm on a podcast, but, you know, like SHIT show. Yeah. We're all tired of it. We're all weary, but it has to be done. It had to be this way. It has to be this way because there's still people out there that have never even realized what I just showed you on that video. I have a feather in my throat or something. That's why I'm grabbing my water. But it had to be this way. And we have to just keep talking the truth because so many still don't know it. So maybe I'll just turn this around and let you read it. I will highlight it as I go through it. And because there's a lot here. So sometimes people are audible learners, but many are visual. So I'll let you read this alongside me reading it. And again, the account is this Jen Whitney. So if you're interested in where this came from and following, getting to this post, sharing it or rereading it or so forth. And she begins by saying, I have said this before, and many of you are not grasping this as I see questions about Iran all the time, and she says Facebook comments. This is where war strategies like the art of war come into play. When the fake news or Trump's administration talks about Iran, they are referring to Israel. What, you might be saying? Israel has owned Iran since 1979. She highlights again, it's a worldwide military operation that started back in 1861 with Lincoln, and then 1961 with JFK, and then 2016 to the current 2026 with Trump, who she says is an actor. Nothing you haven't heard from me before. We've also talked about AKA Patton Jr. as a 5-star general in the military. Now, on my last podcast, I did a really long segment on Patton, the similarities between President Trump and George Patton Sr., the possibility, whether it be probable or not, whether you believe it or not, whether I believe it or not, I think it's highly credible, highly possible, highly probable that the real Donald Trump, because he was adopted, and we went into all this. If you want to hear about all this, go back to my previous podcast where I had a very in-depth segment on Patton. But that's what she's referring to when she's talking about Patton Jr., a 5-star general in the military. And she, along with many others, say that the real Donald Trump is, and we already know this, that there are doubles that play Donald Trump. We already know that. We've seen them. I've showed you pictures of all of the different ones, and then, you know, the different way they look. And then there's the original Donald Trump. That's who people are saying, many people are of the persuasion that the original Donald Trump is George Patton Jr. And if you look at side-by-sides with George Patton and President Trump, like how much they look alike, it's uncanny. So again, if you missed that segment, go back to my last podcast, because you'll see everything that I'm talking about here. All right, so she goes on after she said that Trump is an actor, aka Patton Jr. He would be the person that is in protection in Cheyenne Mountain that we've talked about many times. The real Trump, not a double. If Trump had not won in 2016, we would all be slaves with zero freedom to the fake Israel. Again, the state of Israel was founded in 1948. When we talk about Israel, we are not talking about biblical Israel. We are talking about the state of Israel that was founded in 1948. So if Trump had not won in 2016, we'd all be slaves with zero freedom to the fake Israel, living in FEMA camps. And then she went on to say, remember those black plastic grave bins. Yeah, those were meant for us humans. Okay, so maybe you don't remember that. Maybe you don't remember that. Well, I'm going to take you back to that. I'm going to show you what many of us, many of you already remember, but I'm going to remind you of what this Jen is talking about when she said, remember those black plastic grave bins in the FEMA camps. And again, maybe you're new and you can't remember that because you have no idea. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a still shot, and then I'm going to show you a video. Yes, those are black plastic, as far as the eye can see, caskets. The numbers in this post, that was written on July 21st of 2025. The numbers are staggering. 800 plus FEMA facilities fully prepped, each with rail access and capacity for 20,000 plus detainees. Those black plastic coffins, 500,000 plus units ordered by the CDC and Homeland Security. Each coffin holds 3 to 4 bodies. The guillotines aren't conspiracy. 30,000 plus gallows type apparatus listed in military procurement docs under human resource management equipment. They planned for 25 million Americans. It was called Operation Rex 84, Garden Plot, Jade Helm, all real continuity of government programs for mass detention. They were not preparing for foreign invasion. They were preparing for us. You can see the name FEMA on these. And you can see, at this one camp alone, they go on further than the eye can see. And then there was this video, and it's in another language. And it's too blurry to read. But you can see these are black. You can see these are plastic. You can see that they're containers. And they want us to look at what is written on here. But it's just like right there, that is the Freemason. I mean, it's not super clear, but you can see that that's the Freemason logo, or whatever you want to call it, with the triangle and so forth. So this person that's driving by this truck with all these plastic coffin looking like bins, showing it in the rearview mirror now, stopping it again. You can see that's a Freemason. It's a lot clearer over here. You can see the big G on there. That's the Freemason insignia on this semi that is carrying what appears to be those black plastic holding can hold 3 to 4 bodies, bins. Those are the lids, traveling along the highway. So, was that real, or was that a conspiracy theory? Well, you decide, but they look pretty darn real to me. So that is what she's talking about in that particular part of her article that she wrote when she said, remember those black plastic grave bins and the FEMA camps. where they were at, and they were meant for us. Now, the cabal puppets rigged the election of 2016 with Israel's help, but they did not rig it high enough. In 2016, she said, I was supposed to win. I wasn't supposed to lose. They thought that she had it in the bag. Nobody expected this. Nobody was more surprised than Hillary Clinton herself. They made sure to rig it even higher in 2020. Everything done 2 times. The military was watching, and they knew in real time if the elections were stolen. That is why 98% of the government and news hate him, because the military, Patton, aka Trump, has all the receipts. This is that acronym. Trump, just like everyone else, I've told you guys, he is the face of this military operation. He is not it is a military operation. But look at that acronym, TRUMP, True Republic Under Military Power. I mean, that could just be a coincidence. I agree. But we already know that there's multiple people that are playing their parts. We know that there are multiple different Trumps. I've showed you pictures of them in my files. Like, we know that. So, is this military operation, is it like the Trump operation, the military gave it that acronym? Not the person Trump, but the acronym for True Republic Under Military Power. I don't know. Of course I don't know. But it is interesting. It is very interesting. So let's move on. She goes on to say, during Lincoln's presidency, he, along with several generals, created ghost military, at that time called Space Force Q. It was top secret. This shows you just how massive this operation has been all around the entire world. Legacies after legacies being investigated, tribunals, and then dismantling all of their networks all around the world. Going down pipeline to the low level, which are people in our communities. So it goes from our communities all the way to the top. All of the presidents since JFK, except Trump, were all controlled puppets to their master, Israel. Remember, the state of Israel, not biblical, isn't Israel. Netanyahu and the CIA. So every president other than Trump was controlled by Israel, Netanyahu and the CIA. All the trafficking and crimes we hear about in our research, it all started in Israel, the state of Israel, as the hub. Netanyahu was an evil man. And again, they're saying was, because he's been dealt with. The person we see is an actor, a 2.0, whatever you want to call him. Netanyahu was an evil man and has been executed. Ask yourself why so many people have dual citizenship. Okay, let's talk about dual citizenship. I just did a little search because I wanted you guys not to just hear this article. I want you to see and hear that this person, this Jen, I don't know her, but I do know what she's talking about is factual. Why? Because I look things up and I look for things. Just like I showed you the black plastic containers that I knew I saw way back, multiple years ago. I saw, because I've been researching this SHIT show for so long now. And it's like, okay, I first looked in my files. Did I save those? And I did not. I did not find them in my files. So now they're in my files, so I don't have to search for them anymore. But I knew I'd find them. All I had to do is just keep looking, and I knew I'd find them. So what about this dual citizenship deal? Okay, well, let me talk to you about dual citizenship. Let's start with this one. This is an account in X under the name Dane, D-A-N-E. 89% of our senators and Congress hold dual citizenship with Israel. What? Really? I didn't know that. I mean, I did, because I've known this for years now. But maybe you didn't know that. Ask yourself, who are the real traitors to the country, sacrificing American soldiers for the benefit of a foreign country? Here is a list of U.S. politicians, and this was on April 10th of 2024. So some of these people might be like legitimately like dead or not in office, but this was on April 10th of 2024 at that time. But I can assure you that the list, if I would have spent enough more time, I would have found the current list. But here's a list of U.S. politicians who have dual U.S.-Israeli citizenship. So the U.S. Senate, Blumenthal, out of Connecticut. Dianne Feinstein's like dead now. I mean, she was dealt with, no doubt. Al Franken, Joseph Lieberman, some of the ones you might recognize, Bernie Sanders, Charles Schumer, Chuck Schumer, and some others. Okay, so here on the House of Representatives, some of the names you might recognize. Or not. Gerald Nadler, okay. Jerry Nadler, I recognize that one. You might recognize more of these names. Adam Schiff, there he is down there. Debbie Wasserman, remember her? Wasserman Schultz, she was like the Democratic Committee, like in charge of everything with Hillary. Anthony Weiner, remember the laptop? Yeah, lovely guy there. Dual citizenship. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Let's look at this. Dual citizenship, unconstitutional. Look at this short list of dirty government peeps having dual citizenship with Israel. They have tried to kill us with man-made COVID, then mandating the death vaccine. They have enslaved us with financial slavery and keeping people in debt. The dirty justice system that was not ever fair to us, and especially Trump. They don't want you to know these things, that they are loyal to Israel, the state of Israel, and not America. So let's look at this little list here. And who these people are. I know it's small. This would have been under the Biden administration. Okay, so this would be people that was in his administration. Antony Blinken is Israel. These are dual citizen. Alejandro Mayorkas, and names that you might recognize. Over here, Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury. This is Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State. I'll just give the titles, like Secretary of Homeland Security, Director of the CDC, Director of the Office of Science and Technology, Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology, Co-Chair White House Gender Policy Council, Senior Advisor to the COVID-19 Response Coordinator, Chair of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Secretary of the Treasury, Deputy Secretary of State, Deputy Director of the CIA, White House Chief of Staff, Deputy Secretary of Transportation, Assistant Secretary for Health, Head of Operation Warp Speed, Second Gentleman of the United States. That would be Kamala's husband. Merrick Garland, Attorney General, Director of National Intelligence, Under Secretary of the State for Political Affairs, White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator, Chairwoman of the Federal Communications Commission, Member of the Council of Economic Advisor, Deputy Administrator of the Federal Highway Administration, Commissioner of Food and Drugs. Okay, point being, they all have dual citizenship with Israel. What is up with that? Then you go down to this. All you gotta do is search. All of these people, obviously we're not gonna go through them all. So that's CNN, the New York Times, the 21st Century Fox, NBC News, CBS News, NPR, National Public Radio, or whatever it is, public radio. Okay, won't go through it all because we won't know them anyway. They all have dual citizenship under all of these, okay? So just do our entire media. Look at this. It's insane. Dual citizenship with Israel. You think these things are conspiracy theories? You think people just pull this stuff out of the air? They are all verifiable. All we have to do is take the time to look it up and look into it. And I knew I had seen before, in all the years I've been doing this, all these dual citizenship people. So it's like, okay, she's talking about that. I am going to find it and talk about it as well. but give you the proof. So getting back to that article, it's almost finished. Let me finish it up for you. All right, so let me turn this around again. And we were down here when she talked about the dual citizenship. Remember JFK's famous vow to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. And then JFK Jr. said he plans to finish the job that his dad started. She goes on to say, so much disclosure since 2016. It's definitely picking up speed right now, and when it hits, it's going to feel like a hurricane. Get ready. We do not know when, so don't ask me, she said to her followers, and watch, there will be several who do. And then she said, Iran is Israel. Israel, Middle East, is fake. Saving Israel for last. That's a Q post. America is the promised land. Israel is real within us. We are Israel. Israel is a person, not a place. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about all of those, but keep that in mind as we move forward. All of these statements that she mentioned. Lately, lots of comments surfacing about Epstein. Review what I said above. Learn to connect the dots. It should be quite obvious by now. The first arrest of Epstein files will bring down the entire cabal elite network all around the world. It's like playing Jenga, the game. You pull one bad piece and it all falls down. This is what will happen with Epstein files, and there's actually worse files than Epstein. Hunter Biden's laptop, the insurance policy, it's all connected. This military operation movie does require critical thinking skills and problem solving skills and common sense. So if you struggle in that area, you will find this hard. And that's okay. Just stay to learn. And just know we have been lied to about everything for over 160 years. So we're all going to have to relearn together. And then she just closed by, giving her links and so forth. And sorry for the long post, but very informative post. And she definitely hits on a lot of topics that we all need to familiarize ourselves with. And if we're not very familiar with it, do our best to become, because for my people will perish for lack of knowledge. God wants us to know. I haven't said this in this particular podcast yet, but he brought me into this whole thing about 8 years ago with a scripture, and it was Luke 8:17. Everything that's been kept secret, hidden, and in the dark, everything will be revealed and will come to light, truth. That's how I got started. The Lord just put a scripture on my heart, and I looked it up, and I didn't know what it was about. But what she said, remember this, we've been lied to about everything. I've been saying that for years with you guys. I've been lied to about everything. When I first received that scripture in my spirit and I looked it up, I said, God, what have we been lied to about? What's been kept from us? What's been kept secret? Because I was like not on this journey yet. I was still believing that the world we lived in was the world we were told it was. Then I started learning the truth. And now in my journey, my question to God is no longer, what have we been lied to about? What's been kept secret? What's been hidden? My question now is, what haven't we been lied to about? And that's what Seeking Truth Always is all about. It's finding the truth. We may not always like the truth, and we may not understand whether it even is the truth, but we have to be open. We have to be open. I said this many times in my career, as I've done a lot of public speaking. And one of the things I learned years ago, and then I would say in my public speaking to people, is our minds are like a parachute. They have to be open in order to work. And I've said that hundreds, thousands of times in my career. But early in my journey, the Lord brought that back to me. Like, even though I was the teacher for, time after time telling people this, the Lord was, putting this on my heart because I already knew it. But he knew that I would need that open mind to get through my journey, that I would need that open mind. If my mind isn't open, it'd be like being in a parachute, and we're not going to survive unless the parachute opens. And the same God knew for this with each and every one of us. We have to have an open mind. And it's hard. It's hard to have an open mind sometimes because it's hard to, whether we're talking about the Department of Education, the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, the religious system, or our neighbor, or a coworker, or a family member. If we are lied to by anybody, whether it be a big, huge political system called the swamp, so to speak, a worldwide satanic organization of evil people, we don't like to be lied to by that, but we also don't want to be lied to by someone we know. Somebody that we trusted, and they lie to us. That breaks that trust. So we have to just try to just let go. Again, it's an old cliche, but it's so relevant. Let go and let God. We have to trust God in all this because we'll not get through it otherwise. And that's why the Lord brings so many scriptures to our minds as we're doing this together. And we have to trust God because so much of this just doesn't make sense. And we don't like it. And we find out we've been lied to. And it's like we don't even know what we can trust. But we do. And that's God. We know that. Very honestly, that's all we need. We may not always have all the answers, but we do trust God. And He's got this. So I'm going to show you this quick video. I think it's about, I don't remember.
We are now deep.
Yeah, I think it's, just a little over 4 minutes. And what they're doing is showing a compilation in this video of things that we have been through, and like we're in the final stage of trust the plan of where we go one, we go all, There's one thing he says in this, like this video isn't like brand new. It was made sometime before July of this year, because they mention July 4th in the video. And again, this is all subjective, and it's this person's opinion. It may or may not, you're going to see like, we lived through that, we lived through that, we lived through that. but some of it's going to be the video maker, the person who put this together, their perception. And they believed that, something would occur on or before July 4th, and it didn't happen the way they said. But again, this is subjective. So everything else is really spot on this video, though, what he's showing us. I'm going to show you this. Like I said, it's about 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes. And it's from a X channel called Paul White Gold Eagle, if you want to look that up. And we're in the final stage. Trust the plan. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. There's a little thing that comes up on my phone that says there was lightning in the area. So if you wondered what that sound was, that's what that was. Okay, here we go.
The countdown is no longer theoretical. The emergency broadcast system is primed. The 10 days of darkness are no longer a rumor. It's a global operation set to unfold at lightning speed. The world as we know it is shifting, and the takedown of the old guard has already begun. Sources confirm over 700,000 sealed indictments have now been unsealed. Arrests are occurring in every time zone. High-ranking Kabul members, from corrupt bureaucrats to rogue bankers and media moguls, are being rounded up. These are not symbolic arrests. These are operational extractions executed under global military jurisdiction. Military checkpoints are being quietly established across over 100 nations. This isn't about martial law. This is about global liberation. In the U.S., UK, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, special forces units, including Navy SEALs, Delta Force, and the British SAS have been activated under direct command of a multinational alliance. These teams are trained for surgical missions, extraction, disruption, and digital warfare. It's no coincidence that cyber experts and psychological warfare specialists have been recalled to active duty. The battlefield isn't just kinetic, it's informational. And that's where the EBS comes in. The emergency broadcast system will initiate a global communications blackout, not to silence the people, but to silence the cabal. During this window, the world will be shown documentary footage never before made public. Evidence gathered over decades. Crimes that shock the soul, from ritual abuse and child trafficking to financial slavery and unconstitutional surveillance. This will be broadcast worldwide, unfiltered, uninterrupted. It will be the final red pill. Satellites have been seized, backdoors into the internet neutralized. Military communications will be funneled through the new quantum internet powered by Starlink's secure grid. Once the switch is flipped, the deep state won't be able to coordinate. The mainstream media, muzzled. Their handlers, already gone. And then comes the financial reckoning. The quantum financial system is now active. This isn't just about money, this is about control. And for the first time in modern history, the cabal is losing it. The fiat empire is crumbling. Offshore accounts are frozen. Trillions in illicit assets are being reclaimed and repurposed. The IRS and the Federal Reserve, both unconstitutional, both privately owned, are being dismantled. Quietly. Permanently, the new system is asset-backed, transparent, unhackable. It operates outside of SWIFT, outside of BIS, outside of Rothschild banking channels. It's a debt jubilee in motion. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards, zeroed. And yes, some Tier 4B individuals, the so-called internet group, have already been contacted. Redemption appointments are real. Whales have been funded. Bondholders are receiving liquidity. And the ripple effect will be planetary. Intel from trusted sources confirms that as of the 27th of June, redemption centers are live. Several key figures have reported payments in the hundreds of millions. Military operations in Reno, Nevada, the central node of financial coordination, have intensified. Private jet traffic has spiked. Secure digital transfers are occurring under blackouts. Bankers are saying it's done, no further delays. The system has crossed the point of no return. Even mainstream sources in Iraq are confirming it now. Purchasing power is being recalibrated. Forex screens are flickering with suppressed rates. The signals are everywhere if you know where to look. And then there's the 4th of July. That date is an arbitrary, the constitutional trigger. President Trump, who has remained silent on certain matters for strategic reasons, is expected to declare the Second Declaration of Independence. This isn't politics. This is a full restoration of the original American Republic. The corporate U.S. Inc. dissolved. The IRS, gone. The Federal Reserve, replaced. This will be announced under the full authority of a military constitutional alliance. Every enemy of humanity, from the boardrooms of Davos to the tunnels beneath D.C., is being confronted. Some are already in custody, others are being pursued, but none will escape what's coming. As the EBS begins, the final phase of this awakening will unfold. You'll be instructed to stay indoors, stay offline, and listen. There will be no ambiguity, no confusion, only truth and accountability. We've warned for years. We've decoded every drop. Now it's happening. This is not the end of the world. It's the end of their world and the beginning of ours. Stay strong. Stay awake. Trust the plan. Because you are the storm.
So, how much of that is confirmed? Not really anything. How much of it do I think is accurate? I think a great deal of it is accurate. Do I know? Absolutely no. Does he? I doubt it. That is what he believes and what he's seen, or what his sources, whoever they are, or what he believes. How much of that is spot on? I couldn't tell you. But do I believe we're headed in that direction? Yes, absolutely. Do I believe there'll be an EBS? Yes. Why do I believe that? Because it is so obvious, the truth that is, and again, I go back to what God tells me in Luke 8:17. For 8 years now, everything that's been kept secret, hidden, and in the dark will be revealed and will come to light. If that's going to happen, there's got to be some sort of worldwide. That scripture wasn't meant for the U.S. It was meant for all of humanity. So there's got to be something. God's word is either true or it's not. I believe it's true. God makes promises, and I believe that he keeps them all. So he said these things. That particular scripture is in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So 3 of the 4 Gospels recall those words, specifically a promise from God, that everything is going to be revealed. So the EBS, whether it's called an EBS or there's some other mechanism God is going to use, he said that's going to happen. And I believe his word. He said it. You either, when I say you, it's like we either believe the word or we don't. We believe God keeps his promises or he doesn't. So Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you." What are those plans? Plans to what? Prosper us. Prosper means, it could mean money, but prosper means better, whatever. You know, plans to prosper you. That would be us. That would be humanity. Plans to prosper you and what? Not harm you. So everything in this video was talking about, on one level or another, prospering us. And on one level or another, exposing the truth. So, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you what? Hope. And what else? A future. So again, we either believe God's word or we don't. We believe his promises or we don't. So everything that is being talked about in that video makes sense to me because I trust God and I trust his word. It's not because I have intel sources, because I don't. I have the Holy Spirit, and that's all any of us need. And I have peace and have had peace in my spirit. It's just like when I shared early in this video, in this podcast, about why I was elated when Trump came down the escalators, because God had prepared me for such a time as this in regard to this man and who he is, not who he publicly portrays himself to be, but who he really is based on other people that have had experience with him. In addition to the public knowledge about his successes and or his failures. And the fact that the deep state hates him so much. And they've wanted to take him out. But we have witnessed that. I mean, what other president in history ever had 2 impeachments during their term? I mean, just think about that. How many have had lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit brought against them? How many of them have had treason put against them? Treason and sedition and told lies of the Russia, all of that. Just knowing how they have worked so hard to get rid of him. How many times has his life been in jeopardy? I mean, it doesn't take a person with intel to figure this out. Like, they hate him for a reason. Very evil, bad people hate him for a reason. He would be their bud if they weren't going after him. They were like cahoots. That we'd have something to worry about there. Anyway, I didn't show you that video because, this is what's coming and yay, and I do believe that stuff is coming. I don't know in what way, shape, or form it is, but I know God has plans for us, and they're to prosper us and not harm us, and they're to give us hope. God does not want us hopeless. He said that in His Word, and I believe Him. So I show you that for that reason. Not because I think it's a predictor and this guy is brilliant and he has some sort of intel source. Could he? Yes. But I don't know who he is. I don't know if he has an intel source or not. But everything he says and everything it says in that video makes total sense, and I base that on the Word of God. And nothing else. The reason I trust...
We are now deep in the final phase. The countdown is no longer...
I moved my mouse and it came on. The reason I trust Trump isn't because I know him personally. There's people I trust who I know personally, and that's why I trust them. But I've dug into his life and his past and people who did and do know him. And the bottom line is I believe God would not have him, just like God had Moses do what he did, and Noah do what he did, and David do what he did, and Paul do what he did, and these people were not good. Like Paul had been murdered hundreds, thousands of Christians. He was like a bad dude. If God can choose a bad dude to be one of the people in the world that brought more people to a knowledge of Christ and salvation, more than any other person in this world, Paul is number one. How many he's brought to Christ? If someone like him can be chosen by God, why would we think that God couldn't choose someone like Trump? Because that was then and this is now. Well, God doesn't change. God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So if he appointed people and anointed people way back then, he's still doing it today. I believe that. You don't have to believe me or believe it, but that's what I believe. Okay, so we're going to go to segue over to Candace Owens and that famous debate I told you about. And I'm going to show you some clips. I gave you enough of an intro when we got started about Candace Owens, about this Andrew Wilson. Is that his name? Wilson? Yeah, Andrew Wilson. All right, so I'm going to most of you know who Candace Owens is, but like me, you may not have known who Andrew Wilson was. So I'm going to get you started with an actual clip from his show, which I'd never heard of him or his show, but this is an actual, clip from one of his podcasts where he had a guest. And I'm going to show you this. And then you'll kind of have an idea of who Andrew Wilson is just based on this one clip that is about 3 minutes, a little over 4 minutes. So here we go. That's Andrew Wilson right there.
And I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I will never be able to convince you of my worldview.
You won't.
I know. But the reason is not because I'm not a great orator, or I don't make good points, or I haven't said things which should be compelling to a person. But Charlie, I just think, honestly, you're too fucking stupid to understand them.
So, Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
Yes.
By the way, her name is Charlie. I think that's what he just said. Charlie, can I sell you on my worldview or something like that? Let me make sure, just so you don't confuse her name, because we're talking about Charlie Kirk in this particular segment, but not yet.
But Charlie, I just think, honestly, you're too fucking stupid to
I mean, that right there. Did you just hear what he said? And I didn't mean to play the F-bomb twice so quick. But anyway, her name is Charlie. Okay.
Understand them.
So Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
Yes.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you
you
lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
What does that
You're
mean?
a fucking dyke. Don't talk shit about my wife, you stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your stupid bitch mouth.
Your wife with the 3 baby
What did I
daddies?
just say?
Your
Dyke?
wife with the 3
Sorry,
baby
I'm sorry,
daddies?
Dyke. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your ditch licking?
Do the men that you try to...
Do the women that you try
show
to?
your hatred against...
Do the women
they,
that you try
convince them
to?
that they shouldn't...
You know, Charlie, did I
pursue
bring...
women? Do they know
Charlie,
that
did I
your
bring
wife
your
is 5
family?
years older?
Did I bring any of your
You call
family
me
into
fucking
anything?
stupid.
Did I
You
say
call
anything
me
about
fucking
your
stupid.
family being stupid, Charlie?
could.
It's
You could
because
go
I'm
for it.
better than you, Charlie.
No, it's because you're embarrassed, and you know that the traditional values that you try to sell people on are bullshit because
Let's
you
go
are not
through
a
it.
traditional man.
Chuck, let's go through it.
You are not a traditional
Let's
man.
go through it. But I wouldn't, Chuck, because I'm a better person than you.
Oh, well, you wouldn't be able to because all of my family members are better people than you.
Well, I mean, but I'm a better
Again, that's what I
person than
meant
you.
when I said that my dad has spent his...
All right, that's enough of that. I just wanted to show you enough of it. And I turned the big light off so you can see the video better, but I'm kind of in the dark, so I'll turn that on. I wanted to show you just a taste. It was a big mouthful, but it's a taste of who this guy is and how he treats people. All right. So, again, to set the stage, he challenged Candace Owens to a debate about Charlie Kirk and the murder, and that he's basically saying she's wrong about everything, and he believes TPUSA, even though he had called Erica Kirk publicly a blank retard, until he was invited to TPUSA. Maybe like this would be like greasing the palm, what that means, whatever. All right. Let me give you a very good 3-minute, little over 3 minutes. I don't know who this guy is, but I came across it and I watched the entire debate. Just so you know, I painfully watched the entire debate with this yuck person. But I'm glad I did. But this guy really narrows it down and speaks very intelligently about condensing how the debate went and his perspective.
Bet you didn't see this.
So this brings us back to the original question then. Is your time better spent working, or is your time better spent at home with your children, not outsourcing their care to somebody else while you're working?
So what I want to do really quick is I want to show you why it is that people don't trust any of these people. I want to show you why people like me don't trust any of these people. Watch this.
Wait, what could possibly be more important than being a mother? There's nothing you could ever do in your life that's more important.
So for a
than
man,
that.
it's
Name
more
one
important for
thing
him
you
to be
could
a
do that's
father.
more important than being a mother.
When people say things like that and things like this,
There is no better system that any of you can name than the nuclear family for the backbone of society. That's going to require stay-at-home mothers. There's nothing else that's better than that. We see the population declining. It's falling off like a rock.
but then they do a complete 180 in everything that they believe, like Andrew did during the debate with Candace Owens.
You are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which
The
makes sense. Why
parents-
should we take the organization
No,
over?
that it makes sense why you would go home to your kids, just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre.
They
You wanna
don't have a
protect-
parent. They don't have a
you wanna
parent, and
protect-
they've just suffered a trauma. You don't go into the office
You
6
want to
days later.
protect your husband's legacy,
Yeah,
right?
no.
And you're trying to find some
The
new
legacy
normal.
is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No,
Yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable to
Nope.
believe that it would be both Turning Point USA, that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole
I
life
think
for
this
it.
is why people think she's sus.
and his children.
With Charlie being dead, with there only being one parent in that household now, it's even more important that she's home with the kids. And you will never be able to convince me otherwise, or anyone else for that matter that has a brain in their head. The fact that Andrew is here trying to say that being a businesswoman, that building a business over being a mother to the kids is the priority, is absolutely insane. And anyone who has heard this man debate these feminists and these other women on this topic and are watching this and are not asking the question of why is it that everything he's talked about for so long is all of a sudden the exact opposite, but only for this situation. And this is not the only time. This is not the only person. This has happened across the board with anyone who seems to be in the camp for the official narrative and for TPUSA. And the fact that they know that he has called Erica Kirk a retard and that he literally called all women retards in the same freaking sit down.
Yeah, so when I say Erica's, listen, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew?
They can still defend him. It's like, what kind of mental gymnastics do you need to play to get on this guy's side and pretend like this guy is the knight in shining armor that you needed to expose the lies and conspiracies for this situation? Are we joking right now? See, what's really going on here is this is the truth versus the suppression of the truth. It's not Erica Kirk versus Candace Owens. It's not Andrew Wilson versus Candace Owens. It's the truth versus the suppression of the truth. And it sure seems like the best way to tell who's on the side of suppressing the truth is simply just by looking at their messaging. Who's been consistent and who's been extremely inconsistent? Who has pushed one message and then completely changed it up when it comes to this situation, and who hasn't? That seems to be the best way to tell who's on the side of truth and who's not. But hey, I'm just a conspiracy theorist.
And that's his channel. I hadn't come across him before, but that's, if you want to follow him, it's at IWENDTSTERVIP Winster. Okay, so this is a clip from I believe. Oh, this was just from today. Okay, this isn't from the debate, so I can go back to that. But this is this is kind of like what a public poll that was just taken on X said, you know, who won the debate? Candace Owens, 93.4%, Andrew Wilson, 4.8%, and it was a draw for 1.9%. Okay, this one here, it's only 30 seconds, but let me play this for you. That's Erica Kirk, if you don't know that.
Charlie responded with this. Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered, they're coming after me, someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I had his cell phone.
Charlie responded with this. Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me.
So he brought that up in the debate, and I don't know if I have that clip here or not. I might have that clip here. But let's see. I think this is from today or yesterday, probably yesterday.
Now, regarding the debates, I do want to say this. By the time Andrew Wilson whipped out his phone and read that opening statement, it was clear to me that he was going to lose. As soon as he said the much trafficked quotation of, you're going off vibes and dreams and no evidence, I knew that he was completely unfamiliar with my content. Like, he just decided to go to Turning Point and say, I'll do this and I'll be macho, and had done no research. And I also had this micro win because earlier, if you remember, I had said that one of the terms that I wanted, that I ended up conceding, was I wanted Turning Point to claim their horse. I wanted them to say that this is our guy. And he said he didn't want that done. We all knew that he was being sent by Erica and company, but he refused that term and said he had nothing to do with them. And then in the first 3 minutes of the debate, he makes it perfectly clear that Turning Point USA is backing him with this totally awkward, I have a never before seen message wherein he just kind of makes Erica Kirk look like a big fat liar. Take a listen.
I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed.
Ooh.
On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
We knew that there was always going to be a threat, but Charlie and I we promised each other we would never live in fear. And he would say, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me. But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered, they're coming after me, someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone.
So for those of you who watch this show, that was the original Turning Point USA sin. That was the first episode that I did going after Erica, and I explained to people that she was lying. I said, she's lying. There's no way that I know that this text message exists and that this text message was sent from Dan Flood, and she doesn't. This is in December. This is in December that she's joining Glenn Beck, mid-December, that she is joining Glenn Beck and asserting that she has his phone. And then Turning Point tried to claim, which we met days after, because that's when I went, this is weird. Days after that is when Erica then came to Nashville and we had this summit. And what she told me, which how Andrew was making a very, very bad mistake here, she said, well, it was on Signal and the team's messages auto-delete on Signal. And she didn't know. So I guess Dan Flood didn't tell her. I guess Andrew Colvat, who was giving messages that he thought was relevant to the police, didn't think to give them a message that said the left is going to kill me. But particularly when we sat down, she was like, have you seen the message? And I said, no. And she said, oh, it said the left, and it was on Signal. And I told you guys that was a double lie. She lied again. The message was actually sent on iMessage. Well, Andrew says he's going to be dropping this message because he actually didn't want to show the message for some reason. He wanted this big sort of weird opening where people are going to go, oh, and everyone just thought it was really strange. Really strange for Turning Point USA to not have presented that message, which actually, if they really had a message that said this, their entire narrative has been the left killed Charlie Kirk. Why wouldn't you share that? It seems weird. Why didn't you share that with authorities when you were sharing messages? And Andrew, we're supposed to believe you didn't tell her for 4 months, but you told me in September. And Erica went on Glenn Beck to debunk me and say I was a liar. And now it's just looking real bad for Turning Point USA. So fingers crossed, guys, because I always have a surprise. Fingers crossed that Andrew, who has promised that he's going to release this on his show because he's got evidence, actually does release that message, which is supposed to be on Signal, but I know for a fact is on iMessage.
And the plot thickens. This guy here, you might know who he is. Ian is his name. The Ian Carroll Show. He does an excellent little 4-minute commentary as well, showing a couple of different things from the debate. This is a guy who moderated it. Like I said, I don't remember his name, but some people might know who he is here.
Oh my God, this part. This is the part. Oh my God, this is the part. Amidst all of this awkwardness, this magical moment of cinema, we'll never get another one like this. I'm not going to say anything during it. We're just going to enjoy it in all of its glory.
4 clips you were saying with Erica, so 100%.
This is absurd.
Okay. And this is the one you were saying from 7 days ago.
What they're doing is they're waiting for a clip to be played.
Okay, but while they're looking for that, do you want to continue?
Yeah,
I mean, can I ask a question? I know it's been...
That Andrew Wilson said he had like this, his team there had this like smoking gun video clip to prove that she was lying about something or something to that nature. So they're waiting for the clip, but it's not coming up. And his team in the back, he's got earphones on, and I guess they can hear what he hears as well. You know, it's like the clip's not coming up. So now he says, would you like to ask him a question? Would you, Candace, like to ask Andrew a question? And she's going, yeah, I can do that.
Or like, can I ask a question? Are we...
I'm just going to...
Okay.
We're going to hold to the actual contract itself.
The contract does not say that you are allowed...
No.
Sorry, I hit the button too quick there.
Guys have it in the back?
We're just waiting.
And everything Andrew wanted to, so that people can fairly assess the situation. So you have it your way. I'm going to ask a question.
Totally fair with me.
So you good with her asking a question? Or
He said no.
Waiting for the clip.
Okay, so you want to wait for the clip first? Okay.
He doesn't want her to ask him a question, is what, like she said, can I ask you a question? He goes, no, I want to wait for the clip. Because it's supposed to be some smoking gun thing that's going to prove that she's some sort of liar in his mind.
You guys have it in the back?
We're just waiting for the
Okay, beautiful.
clip.
So they're watching a screen, just waiting for this clip to come up. And I watched it live. I mean, I watched this thing.
Oh my god.
And I'm like,
I'm so glad Candace didn't break the silence here. Because it's just so good, dude. Oh my god, I'm like literally crying. And I've already seen this clip like 3 times. They literally go... So they go through the craziest awkward silence in like debate history. Clearly spurred on by Andrew's flummoxing discombobulation, and his team is trying to save him, but they don't actually have a clip ready, even though they're trying to save him with a clip that they should have ready. So they go silent to bring in the clip, and that gets really awkward. And so then Candace is like, "Hey, I'll save it. I'll ask a question." And then they kind of go back and forth for a second, and Andrew's like, "No, you can't ask a question. We're going to do this by the contract, and we're going to wait for the clip." And then they just go right back into the awkward silence because, what? So, having been in this experience before, kind of, I'll tell you what's going on here. When you're in a podcast environment and one of these awkward moments where like media that's supposed to be ready isn't ready yet, a good podcaster jumps in and starts talking to fill the space while we're waiting. Because a good podcaster has knowledge in their brain relevant to the exact topic we're on right now that can help bridge the gap between the moment of silence and the clip. And they know where the clip is coming in, and so they can just jump in and improvise a little bit and make it, not so awkward. And this is a moment where we're on Andrew's questioning time and we're in his wheelhouse, and this floor is his. This team has just interrupted to share the clip, and now we're just hanging. And Andrew has nothing in his brain to fill the space. He just freezes like a dead deer. Sorry, like a baby deer. Or like a retarded deer. Or something. Like a female deer, Andrew? And he just freezes and has nothing to give. And then they have this weird little awkward exchange fight about, can I ask a question? And he's like, no, we're going to do this by the book. And he still has nothing in his brain to fill the space with.
He told me they had it, so
That's what I heard. Okay, there we
come
go.
on, guys.
Did this crime. Okay? Because Lance Twiggs has his name on the call. Lance Twiggs has his...
So what Candace just said to Patrick Bet David is that her earpiece is a little fucked up. They're quite quiet, and sometimes they get broken-y. So she just assided to Patrick Bet David and said, I can't hear any of the audio. My thing is messing up, but I know what the clip says, so just tell me when it's over. I'm pretty sure that's what she just said.
DNA on the rifle. And to be clear, Lance Twiggs' DNA was not as degraded as Tyler Robinson's DNA was on Tyler's rifle. It's Tyler's rifle.
No, it's not. It's degraded on the rifle.
Yeah, I thought he was one of the things, but I've already got, that's what I mean when I say...
Okay. This is the moment, this Dan Decker said, this is the moment when Andrew lost the debate. This was a devastating mic drop from Candace.
But can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great.
The whole debate is about Charlie Kirk. Her information versus him thinking that she's full of crap. So she's just asking him, what are the charges? And so he is trying to answer, but he doesn't really know. And of course, it's about Charlie Kirk. And the one thing he has to say is murder. That's what he's saying here.
But can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
He doesn't even. This is like
name all 7.
And I
can you name all 7?
I can't.
Then do it.
Sure, you don't have to.
Do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
You don't have to put your fingers up.
Okay, I'll name them.
Yeah, sure.
Name them.
The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries the death sentence in the state of Utah. No, that's not. That is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on. And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined and because it carries a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay,
You're just going to recognize that your strategy of thinking that people are intimidated when you try to put a time constraint doesn't work. And you'll be better the next time you debate someone.
I got it. Can you give me the other ones?
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that people don't walk away?
I just want you to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend that there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got to...
It sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know them.
I know all 7 of them.
Then
and I'm going to say
them.
again, because you're going to get embarrassed, you don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I want a no time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering. And
what's the specific charges, though?
That is them. Obstruction of justice, obstruction of justice, witness tampering. Okay,
and there's no other specifics to them.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged.
No, just the charges, and then 7?
Yeah, see, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Okay, got it. So then he's being charged with murder. You just say aggravated murder. That's the distinction. You just want to...
It's a massive... It's like you cannot say murder versus aggravated murder.
Distinction.
This gets to the entire crux of why him being up for the death sentence. And I actually find the defense's filing about why this is not aggravated to be very compelling of why it's not aggravated murder. Actually, if the state was going to even try to pull this off, they should have charged him with just murder. And then I do also, again, want to stress to audiences that debate strategy of thinking that you have to speak faster or somebody puts your hand up and they try to pretend like it's some sport. I think he thinks it's a blood sport. It's not. It's about being right and being principled when you're engaging. And you can make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but at least be genuine in pretending that you care about this case enough to know one of the 7 charges that are up against Tyler Robinson when you say the evidence is overwhelming that he's guilty. If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about, if you guys want to pull that up.
They do pull up the 7 charges, and she is spot on. And they do show it on the screen, what the 7 charges are, and each and everything that she said was like just absolutely there. So he was trying to get like an aha or a gotcha moment with her thinking that she would not know what the 7 charges are. And then he still tried to say, well, murder and aggravated murder are the same. And of course they're not. And so, it was a moment, I would agree that, he pretty much probably lost the debate based on that. And I think I have the clip, if I can find it really quick, but I thought I had the clip I do have the clip, but I don't think it's in this folder that I pulled up. That is where she showed her phone, which was just hilarious. But I don't see it in this folder. I'm not going to take the time to look for it. You guys get the point. You can't miss the point, for sure, about this ridiculous... It just blows my mind that I believe Candace Owens has proven with credible concerns, because to find somebody guilty, you don't find them guilty if there is reasonable doubt. So she has presented so much more than reasonable doubt that Tyler Robinson, even having access to the video that Benny Johnson said was 4K and clear as a bell, and you could see his face clearly, and it was Tyler Robinson on the roof and so forth. She even, whatever her connections are, she even got that video recently and released that when no one else could, and literally proved Benny Johnson lied, whatever that's worth. I mean, like I said, I watch him. I think he does a good job reporting certain current events. According to Bear with News 17 channel, Benny Johnson has access and connections with the Pentagon, and does have some valid information, and I trust Bear on that. But Bear is the one that broke the news about Candace breaking, as soon as she did, bringing that video forward and showing Benny Johnson's initial reaction, which I saw at the time. But at any rate, I believe that there is so much more to the Charlie Kirk story. I do believe that we are going to find out at some point that TPUSA, as it is now, and I believe that Charlie Kirk is in witness protection. That's my personal belief. I believe the whole thing was staged. I think they made it so obvious, like everything else that they've made obvious, whether it's, Biden wearing a mask that is, like at his neckline that is, or his ears are attached or his ears aren't attached. I mean, they make it so obvious. And the day I saw that happen with Charlie Kirk, I mean, I immediately did not believe it. It just looked staged to me. But then after the fact, all the things that proved it couldn't have been a real crime scene. They didn't even put yellow tape up. Come on. I mean, that's the most basic. If you don't know anything else, you know that. And they didn't even do that. And there's 100 other things, But Candace Owens, accepted this. I think she did it, accepted it, just to be able to wake some more people up, in my opinion. But she buried him. And I'm glad, because the guy is an absolute jerk, in my opinion. All right, we're going to go to our final segment, which is part 12 of 28 of the sequel to The Fall of the Cabal. This is an additional, in addition to the previous information on Bill Gates, this is continuing that in the sequel, about the ultimate weapon of Bill Gates, and that would be gene drive technology and synthetic technology. And as with all videos that Candace, that Janet Ossebaard, has put out with the truth. This is further things that most people don't know about Bill Gates, but if you do the research, you do, and Janet did the research. So we're going to pick up at the beginning of part 12. This is a 26-minute and 15-second video, just to give you an idea of how long it is, and then we will close in prayer at the conclusion of part 12. So if you can stay up and stay with me, for those of you that is later in Eastern Time Zone, if you can't, I totally understand, but those who can, we will pray together in agreement as we close out this podcast. So this will be, and by the way, welcome Connie. I noticed Connie came on from Kansas, so welcome Connie. Good to see you here, and thank you for your comment. And this begins part 12. Everything we have seen in the previous episodes is child's play compared to what we are about to share with you. An apocalyptic tool so powerful it could mean the end of humanity as a free and sovereign species. Hold on to your seats as we go further down this rabbit hole.
We have spent 4 episodes on Bill Gates, our self-proclaimed philanthropist. You might ask yourself, could there possibly be any more evil coming out of this man's mind? The answer is yes. We discovered even more darkness to share with you. And we promise, after this episode, we are done with him, and we will never mention his name again. Now, we briefly mentioned something big at the end of the previous episode. Gates' involvement in what we call gene drive technology, also referred to as extinction technology. We are literally talking technology to make entire species or races go extinct. According to researchers, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and DARPA are the world's largest funders of gene drive research. In short, gene drive organisms are created by genetically engineering a living organism with a particular trait and then modifying the organism's reproductive system in order to always force the modified gene onto future generations, spreading the trait throughout the entire population. In order to be able to do that, one has to cut DNA and enable genes to be inserted, replaced, or deleted from DNA sequences. The research of this amazing technology started off in 2003, massively funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It wasn't until 2015 and many millions of dollars later when a breakthrough was reached and Bill Gates had his ticket to his mosquito ball, remember, from part 9? Now, we have already shown the dangers of gene drive technology. Think of the disruption of entire ecosystems. But it goes further than that. Gene drives are classified as synthetic biology, an extreme form of genetic engineering. Synthetic biology has been a field of interest of both Bill Gates and the US military and many other engineering. Now, bearing in mind the possibility is secured. He bankrolled the technology development, he shaped the narrative, he picked the policy negotiators, and even paid the lobbyists. Just to give you an idea of how powerful this man is, in early 2015, the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine announced that they would have a major inquiry into gene drives. The study did not explore just the science of gene drives, but also aimed to frame issues around policy, ethics, risk assessment, governance, and public engagement around gene drives. It was sponsored by DARPA and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation through the National Institutes of Health and the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health. Several panel members were recipients of Gates funds. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation also channeled money into the MIT Media Lab to promote gene drive technology. This media lab, by the way, came into the news when it was revealed it had received donations from none other than convicted child rapist Jeffrey Epstein. In 2019, the media lab got $2 million from Gates through Epstein. Funny how things always come back and bite you in the butt, right, Bill? Synthetic biology has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Investment firms estimate that the industry will be worth $85 billion by 2030. That's an awful lot of money. We're talking about an industry that creates synthetic ingredients for the food industry, medicines, and lab-grown food products. In other words, It creates something artificially that does not exist in the natural world. Now, once again, that can either be a blessing or a curse, depending on whose hands it ends up in. As we've seen, synthetic biology is all about changing DNA into the so-called perfect mode, which could be absolutely brilliant. It could mean the end of disease. Our DNA could be programmed to fight AIDS, for instance, or even hereditary diseases, such as autoimmune diseases or certain types of cancer. They could be eliminated for good. Can you imagine the absolutely wonderful breakthrough in medical science? However, in the wrong hands, it could be disastrous. First of all, it would be a very expensive way forward, meaning only the very rich people would be able to buy good health, good genes, while the ordinary people would have to wait for traditional medical treatment. Now, don't get me wrong, we are pro-advance, but when Bill Gates comes into the equation, we are highly alerted. As we have seen in previous episodes, Gates is a eugenics fanatic. The step from eugenics to synthetic biology is only a small one. Remember the Nazis and their efforts to create a pure race? Tall, athletic people with white skin, blonde hair and blue eyes? The Aryan race? Well, guess what? A new term has been coined for eugenics. Designer babies. We are not kidding you. When you have enough money, you can actually tell your synbio doctors what kind of baby you want to give birth to. Green eyes, dark skin, a boy or a girl, highly intelligent, a natural born leader. You name it, they will program it. Use cells in a petri dish, which will then be placed in your womb, or in an artificial womb, yet another marvel of technology from the Netherlands. We think you know by now that when Mr. Gates is involved, one has to be cautious. Be it vaccines, be it synthetic biology. When Gates promotes it and puts millions into it, something is off. Back to the food industry. Gates' latest investments include Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat, that make processed meat-like burgers from a synthetic biology-derived blood substitute. Sounds marvelous, doesn't it? I mean, we've been vegetarians for decades out of sheer love for animals, and we would welcome any new and tasty veggie burger. But from the hands of Bill Gates? Seriously? When a man who is an enthused depopulation advocate starts producing our food? Not a good thing. Let's have a closer look, shall we? After all, more and more viewers are concerned about the welfare of the planet and the animals that live on it. Beyond Meat was founded in 2009 in California, but the first burgers didn't hit the market until 2012. In less than 3 years, the company went straight to the stock market, where its shares exploded 840% during its first 3 months being listed. Investment firms said they had never seen anything like it. As of March 2021, Beyond Meat has a market value of $8.16 billion. For a bunch of veggie burgers? Really? Impossible Foods was founded in 2011, also in California. Its first burgers hit the market in 2016. Contrary to Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods is not on the stock market. It earns its fundings from venture capital funds and celebrity investors like Bill Gates. The company has brought in $1.4 billion. Its current value is estimated at $4 billion. As we were editing this episode, news arrived that Impossible Foods is ready to move forward to the stock market with an estimated value of $10 billion US. Once again, for a bunch of veggie burgers? Well, it's not just veggie burgers. It's synthetic biology products. That's where the money is going. That's what a man like Bill Gates is so excited about. If he were truly thrilled about vegetarian food, he would have invested in companies like the Vegetarian Butcher or Corn, right? The truth is, Gates couldn't care less about the well-being of animals. He's into depopulation, eugenics, GMOs, and now synthetic biology. Why? So he can play God. Synthetic biology means redesigning life. New biological systems are created, systems that do not exist in nature. It is the extended version of genetic engineering. According to synthetic biologists, organisms created by means of synthetic biology would be considered new species, a complete biological system that could not have evolved from nature and would even have to be classified in a separate domain of life. Playing God. Like we said before, this can be a curse or a blessing, depending on who is the creator. A beautiful example of SynBio is a bacterial system capable of avoiding the immune system, of sensing tumor cells, of invading and destroying them, and then self-destruct after a programmed time. Or how about this one? An alga that is capable of producing biofuels from carbon dioxide. Wonders of technological advance. But in the wrong hands? Take that same bacterial system we just mentioned. How about programming it to attack the immune system instead of cancer cells? Then let it self-destruct after a programmed time, and the cause of death will never be discovered through autopsy. For people like Bill Gates, synthetic biology is an absolute blessing. The term was well chosen. The word biology does wonders, like sustainability. It has a direct association with nature, green, eco, marvelous psychological effect. Whereas the word GMO is now connected to certain doubts concerning the health of people and planet. Furthermore, definitions of synthetic biology are still changing. And when it comes to, for instance, FDA approval, it's all about definitions. Right now, believe it or not, manufacturers of products that are based on SynBio do not legally have to disclose this. They do not have to label their products GMO, as the definition of SynBio is slightly different, even though it is much more extreme than GMO. And that is exactly what we see with the products of Beyond Meat. Its founder, Ethan Brown, doesn't mention SynBio in interviews. It cannot be found on the company's website and/or its packaging. What's even worse, Beyond Meat states that products are GMO-free. SynBio, yes, but that does not have to be disclosed. How shall we call this? It's legal, all right, but only because of the flaws in the system. We would definitely call this consumer deceit. Now, the funny thing is, on its website, Beyond Meat doesn't even claim to be producing vegetarian or vegan products. They say their products are plant-based, but there's no mention of their products being suitable for vegetarians or vegans. At least not when we produce this episode. What about the products as they are sold in the shops? Beyond Meat put on some of its products the word vegan or vegetarian, but not on all. Far from it. From a marketing point of view, this strikes us as odd. It uses the icons for no GMOs, no soy or gluten, and kosher. The words plant-based sausage mean nothing. It can be based on plants, but still contain meat. So don't be fooled by the words plant-based. So, what is the main secret of Beyond Meat's bleeding burgers that they are so proud of? Red beet juice. Believe it or not, after years of developing vegetarian burgers by many other companies, nobody came up with the idea to use red beet juice to mimic the bleeding of meat? Are you kidding me? That's not exactly rocket science, is it? You want to know why it was never discovered before? Because it doesn't work. Try it. Red beet juice does not turn into a juicy burger taste when fried. It just doesn't have that bloody iron taste to it. Beyond Meat's secret is synthetic biology. And that has nothing to do with healthy veggie burgers. How about Impossible Foods? Their main secret is heme, genetically engineered soy leg hemoglobin. According to scientific advisor to Impossible Foods, Dr. Michael Eisen, in order to provide tasty alternatives to animal meat made from plants, you need lots of heme. And to get heme, you need genetic engineering. Impossible Foods makes this GMO heme by taking DNA from the root of soy plants, where a small amount of heme is produced, and inserted into genetically engineered yeast that is then fermented to mass-produce GMO heme. Well, at least they are honest about the GMOs, but mind you, this synbio substance has never been consumed before. Nobody knows what the effects will be on body and mind after consuming certain quantities for a certain amount of time. On its website, Impossible Food doesn't claim to be producing vegetarian or vegan products either, just like Beyond Meat. They too only state that products are plant-based. The packaging of their products tell us they do not contain animal hormones or antibiotics. Excuse me? That is not quite the same as vegetarian or vegan, now is it? From a marketing point of view, the packaging seems cheap and not appealing at all. Not quite what one would expect from a multi-billion enterprise, right? Impossible Foods does show us the icon of bioengineered, which looks tempting as an eco and green. But don't be fooled. Remember this icon. No matter how good it looks, it means trouble. We advise you to stay away from it. We mean it when we say that we truly wanted these miracle burgers to be the real thing. But after careful consideration, we turned them down. They are not the vegetarian product people are looking for. They are GMO'd and synbio'd. And we tasted them. They taste like meat. Full-on, juicy meat. Now, we don't know what's causing that, but we do not believe it's because of red beet juice or heme. Could it be the result of certain flavor enhancers? Did you know that some of the most powerful flavor enhancers are based on human embryonic kidney cells? The HEK293 cells? In other words, kidney cells taken from a human aborted baby? Ever heard of Cenomix? A biotech company from California, bought by FEMA from Switzerland in 2018? The business that received $7.5 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? We know, too far-fetched, right? I mean, can you imagine? Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods containing fetus kidney cells to add the meat flavor? Without telling us?
Because of the extremely small amounts used, the HEC 293 cells do not have to be disclosed.
That a lot of products contain these human embryonic kidney 293 cells to increase their taste. But come on, fake veggie burgers? Nah, we're pretty sure that the fact that the location of the production facility of Impossible Foods in Oakland, California, being right across the street from Planned Parenthood, is just a creepy coincidence. Just like the fact that the production facility of Beyond Meat is only a few minutes' drive from 3 Planned Parenthood clinics. Just a creepy coincidence. Although, in 2018, Beyond Meat partnered up with Zandbergen, world's finest meat from the Netherlands. That's right. Originally a butcher, and now an importer of frozen meat from across the world. Zandbergen states it is proud to be working with Beyond Meat that has replaced meat protein by plant protein. Synthetic biology, all right. Creating new species, remember? Replacing meat protein by plant protein doesn't exactly make it vegetarian. Now, does it? Oh, and guess what? Beyond Meat's manufacturing facility in the Netherlands is only 7 minutes away from an abortion facility, the Emma Clinic, in the city of Enschede. Bearing in mind the Netherlands only has 15 abortion facilities, what are the odds? Gates now believes the wealthiest countries should switch to eating 100% synthetic beef in order to help combat climate change. Of course, climate change. If you can't blame it on COVID, blame it on climate change. Now the poor countries cannot afford synthetic meat, so they can continue eating real meat. But that will have to be GMO'd, of course. Bill Gates has taken over our food supply. He GMO'd our seeds, and now he is getting rid of the American beef industry. He is destroying farming, and he's buying up farmland. This way, he will soon control every aspect of our food, how it is produced, what is put into it. Gates will do in the US and Europe what he has already done in Africa and India. He will force you to obey his rules and regulations. If you disobey, you will be fined, thrown in jail, and you will be refrained from food, the number one necessity in life. Gates has found yet another way to subjugate us completely and utterly to his whims and wishes. Now, if that doesn't worry you, we don't know what will. Well, maybe this will. All current COVID vaccines are the result of synthetic biology. All of them. They have not been tested. They are not approved. They are referred to as GRAS, generally recognized as safe, which means absolutely nothing. And they are in an experimental phase until 2023. Let that sink in. You are part of a massive medical experiment. By injecting a synbio product into your body, you could be changed into one of Gates' products, a synbioed, genetically modified product. After everything we have shown you in the previous episodes about Bill Gates, exactly how safe does that make you feel? Now, during the very first seconds of this episode, we promised you that this would be the last one about Gates. And that was truly our intention. I mean, we are so fed up with him, you have no idea. But as we are approaching the critical half hour, we're afraid there's just a few more things about him that will put things into perspective in a way you've probably not seen before. Bear with us, and move along to part 13.
The good news for all of us is God intervened, brought this man to the first term when she was supposed to win. This guy and all of his plans, I absolutely, firmly, and 100% believe he has been dealt with as well. All of the things he was going to do. Remember, this was produced in 2021. Well, guess what? God intervened. But it makes it no less important that we know the truth. See, many of us already knew about a lot of this because maybe A, we've seen this before, or because we've been awake for so long, we've come across this type of information through our own awakening journeys. For some of you, though, it's new. So the reason I am saying what I'm saying right now is this was the state of things in 2021 and where it was heading. And we are in 2026 now. And not only was President Trump officially in office from 2017 to 2020, the 2020 election and the subsequent term was part of this plan to wake up. God said everything that has been secret and kept hidden will be revealed and will come to light. Again, I believe that's 100% what's going on in our world today. For whatever reason, God chose this time, our lifetimes. And now President Trump is in office again, but he never really left. And the things that this evil person Gates had planned for everybody has been stopped in its tracks. It doesn't mean that there's still not things out there that are in the process of being fixed, but they are being fixed. And maybe even those companies, I didn't look them up. I haven't looked them up, like, are they still even in business? This video was made in 2021. But if they are, maybe standards have changed as well. Because like I said, I haven't looked into that. But that is the point I'm making, is in 2021, that's where things were. And it is now 2026, and there is no doubt in my mind that all of his evil plans, what the enemy plans for evil, God will use for good. And it will look pretty... when she made this video and came across and found all of this information on him, it's historical information that we just need to be aware of, but we don't need to fear it. We never did need to fear it because God is in control, but it was pretty overwhelming, I imagine, when she was doing that research, when she and her partner Cyntha Koeter were doing the research and putting these videos together. I mean, like, it looked pretty daunting. But we're now 5 years later. So, don't be panicked about what you just saw, is what I want to say. And know that God has and is fulfilling his promise of Jeremiah 29:11. His plans to prosper us and not harm us, and plans to give us hope and a future. So with that, we're going to close in prayer, as we do each and every time when we're together, with first the Q military intelligence operation. They published a prayer in 2020 on September 20th. It was drop number 4739. You can look it up in the Q Alert, QAlerts.app, if you wanted to print the prayer off or have access to it. It's in the Q drops. And we'll pray that together. And then we will close with the Lord's Prayer. Strengthen our faith, Lord. Forgive us our sins, so that we may be clean in your righteousness. Make us brave so we can stand and fight the spiritual battles that are in our lives and in our world. Give us your wisdom, Lord, and discernment, so we won't be caught off guard. Together, Lord, we win, because in truth, you already have. While evil still roams, the power of your name and your blood rises up in victory against every evil planned against us. While malicious actions may disturb us, we use the armor of God that you have equipped us with and given us to stand firm. You will bring justice in due time for all of the harm and needless violence aimed at your children. But until then, we remain in your presence, aligned with your purposes, Lord, and we look to you as our supreme commander and protector. Help us to avoid temptation and deliver us from evil. Lord, you are the mighty one. You are the one who will ultimately bring all evil to light, to truth. With you, Jesus, we are safe. Our Father, who art in heaven, holy be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thank you, Lord. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who have sinned against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And thank you for delivering this world from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. And all the people said, and we say it together, amen. So thank you for joining tonight, all who were live and shared your comments and just kind of let me know that as I look at myself in this viewfinder that I'm not alone. You're here with me. And that's been such a blessing to me now for over 5 years. And I look forward to being with you next time. This week, I think it will be on Friday evening this week will be our other podcast. So between now and then, have a blessed rest of your week. This is Nancy with Seeking Truth Always, closing for this evening and putting another one in the books. God bless you all. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.